Live every day as if it were the last, because before you know it, time goes past and life's just not that long. Tell all you love that you love them so, because even if you do, they might not know, and one day we'll all be gone. Taste the wind.
A man beaten horribly as a kid by his alcoholic father learned to endure those beatings with not even a whimper, to not give his father the satisfaction of seeing his pain. As a grown man, he is not able to show any sign of pain or sorrow. Many people think he's cold, but he says they have no idea what goes on inside him. Adults cannot beat kids into being good. Hitting kids beats evil deeper into them. Hitting kids teaches them, hit those people you love when you are angry. Hitting kids teaches them, make people obey you out of fear and pain. Hitting kids teaches them not to respect their own bodies, not to respect other people's bodies. Many kids beaten later abuse their bodies with booze, cigarettes, other drugs, junk food. And many kids beaten grow up to abuse others. Family violence, street gangs, and then the worst gang of all, as soldiers waging war. In the Vietnam War, the United States used white phosphorus, napalm, chemical agents on the Vietnamese people and their land. For almost 10 years, the U.S. sprayed Agent Orange poison 19 million gallons on over 3,000 villages, causing awful sickness, birth defects in many Vietnamese people and in U.S. soldiers exposed and their children. The U.S. companies Monsanto, Dow, Uniroyal made the deadly poison Agent Orange to sicken and to kill our sisters, our brothers in Vietnam. The U.S. dropped 8 million tons of bombs in Vietnam. 3 times all the bombs dropped by both sides in World War II. The 8 million tons of bombs the U.S. dropped on Vietnam was equal to 640 of the atom bombs the U.S. dropped on Hiroshima. 3 to 5 million people, most of them not soldiers, 3 to 5 million people, most of them civilians, the U.S. murdered in Vietnam. Plus more in Laos, Cambodia, Thailand. The U.S. government told U.S. soldiers, shoot anything that moves. Talk about street gangs, murdering people. The U.S. government celebrated the high numbers of Vietnamese people U.S. soldiers murdered. I strongly compliment many U.S. soldiers who protested strongly the Vietnam War and helped to stop it. And watch this powerful documentary about those many, many U.S. soldiers who helped to stop the Vietnam War. It's entitled Sir, No Sir. Sir, No Sir. And it's on YouTube. I urge you to watch it. Churches say God is a spirit. But what is a spirit? If God is a spirit with no cock, no balls, why do most Christians refer to God as male? He, him, his. If God is good and cares for all people fairly, how can God watch millions of people for thousands of years suffer starvation, fires, floods, hurricanes, tornadoes, torture, rape, family violence, war? How can God watch such massive misery and not help? Especially when millions beg God desperately for help. Why does God want people to worship and praise God often and fervently? Is God, the creator of the huge universe, insecure? Does God get mad and raise hell on earth? Many churches say we human beings are evil sinners deserving horrendous torture with no pardon, no parole, in hell forever. Many sermons and books try to explain why an all-powerful, fair, loving God refuses to help millions of suffering people begging God desperately for help. No one on earth can explain that. No one. How would we ever know for sure if God answered our prayers or if something we prayed for would have happened anyway? Why do most people in the United States believe in heaven after death when there is no proof heaven exists? Why did Jesus tell us to treat each other better than God treats millions of people in earthquakes, floods, tornadoes, birth defects? Some churches teach if a child dies before the age of accountability, maybe 7 years old, when they're old enough to choose right from wrong, that child will not go to hell if the child dies before the age of accountability, according to some churches. If that is true, and if God is fair and loves all people equally, and if God knows how people will later decide as adults for or against God, and who will go to heaven or hell, why does God not kill as children all people God knows will decide against God later in life and go to hell? It all makes no sense. Crazy, make-believe religious bullshit. A child taught by parents to believe in God often feels they must believe this crap or risk losing their parents' love, favor, care. It took me many years with much help from many people to realize there is no God. No all-knowing, all-loving, no all-powerful God to believe in and to pray to. And that was a huge shock for me. Huge. lonely and terrifying in this vast universe. I have sincerely swallowed, I have sincerely spread false advertising for God for many years. And if I had not been taught to believe in God and the Bible when I was a kid, would I, as an adult, have fallen for this make-believe religious bullshit? I don't know. I wasted thousands of hours in church services. I majored in Bible in a church college. I read many religious books. I was a very sincere Christian preacher 57 years ago in Virginia and later in Illinois. Hitler said, "What good fortune for those in power that people do not think." Hitler knew most Germans were religious. Most Germans swallowed crazy religious crap. Hitler knew many Germans could swallow his evil lies. Sadly, most churches, most Sunday school classes do not welcome deep questions. Certain things are never said in church or in Sunday school. Certain things are never openly questioned. Most churches do not say persons can be honest, can be caring, can be responsible, even if they do not believe in God. Pressuring children to believe in God is child abuse. Many people pressured as children to believe in God stay caged, stay trapped in religion until death. They never feel free to question deeply their faith or the Bible. They never feel free to question many other things in life. White supremacy, U.S. wars, U.S. advertising for much crap no one needs. How many thousands of women, men, girls, and boys will the Israeli government murder in Gaza until Biden and most of Congress demand that this war stop now? U.S. weapons companies make billions of dollars from this Israeli genocide in Gaza and from all U.S. wars. For decades, U.S. federal income tax has bought the tanks, helicopters, bulldozers, missiles for the Israeli government to terrorize, to cripple, to paralyze, to make homeless, to murder the Palestinian people. I have paid no federal income tax for 45 years. I enjoy living simply below the U.S. federal income taxable level and below the U.S. poverty level. War is the worst of all crimes. Imagine if you heard that every day on radio and TV and in the newspapers. War is the worst of all crimes. 1/3 to 1/2 of federal income tax pays for U.S.-backed Israeli war in Gaza and for U.S. wars in many nations, past, present, and future. Prophet Martin Luther King Jr. said, "The greatest purveyor of violence in the world today is my own government." And sadly, what he said almost 57 years ago is still true. Most U.S. radio, TV, and newspapers support the evil U.S. addiction to war and to greed. Listen to Democracy Now! On KUNM 89.9 FM, Monday through Friday, from 4 to 5 in the afternoons. And it's also on the internet, Democracy Now! Far better news coverage instead of U.S. government propaganda. Many more people now fear and hate the Israeli government. Many more people now fear and hate the U.S. government because of the hell in Gaza. I strongly compliment thousands of U.S. Jews for damning publicly the Israeli government's revenge mass murders in Gaza. I condemn the Hamas murders of Israelis last October 7th. I condemn the Israeli government's unlimited revenge in Gaza these past 6 months plus. I want always, as long as I live, to welcome new friendships of all ages, all colors, all sizes, males and females. I want always, as long as I live, to welcome new romances with gay or bi men who are lean, healthy, friendly, humble, honest, passionate, dependable, affectionate. Men who have no shame, no guilt about sex with men. Sadly, many people, as they get older, stop being open to new, deep friendships. Sadly, many people, as they get older, stop being open to new, passionate romances. Why? They fear being hurt again because of very painful past breakups and the deaths of loved ones. But a heart in love is always young in spite of a wrinkled body. The first time I had sex with any male was in 1976 when I was 31. He sucked me off, or I sucked him off, and not long after that, I had the wonderful pleasure of being fucked by another young man. He was a master fucker. He took his time. He was gentle. I forget if I told him it was my first time being fucked by a man. I wish every man fucking a man would be like him. So very different from being fucked by a man who does not give a damn about how the man he is fucking feels, whether he is enjoying it or suffering pain. Many years later, I greatly enjoyed fucking dear Jose many times. Jose was bisexual from Mexico. I met him when he was 23 up at the hot springs in Jemez. Jose never fucked me. I wish he had fucked me, but he fucked women and younger men. I was in love with Jose. I licked Jose's asshole before fucking him. My friend Steve here in Albuquerque had taught me the wonderful pleasure of having my asshole licked. I loved Jose deeply. I kept track. I had sex with Jose over 70 times, more often than with any other man in my life. I was in love with him, and Jose will always have a special place in my heart. Am I ashamed of speaking on television and YouTube about fucking a man and being fucked by a man? Hell no. Why would I be ashamed of the intense pleasure of fucking a man or being fucked by a man if both men are enjoying it? I would be damn ashamed as hell of giving pain, bruises, injuries, concussions to men in football, boxing, mixed martial arts. My friend Judy had a doctor who thought one of her kidneys had cancer. So the doctor operated and removed it. After surgery, no cancer found in that kidney. So Judy has lived for years with one kidney. We all make many mistakes. Doctors make many mistakes. And if your doctor does not want to answer your questions, get a different doctor immediately. My friend Dan's doctor put Dan on the statin drug for many years until Dan found out his neuropathy in his feet, which felt like pins and needles and numbness, was caused by that statin drug. Dan stopped the statin drug, but still suffered for years. My cousin Zelima's husband was allergic to penicillin, and when he went to the hospital, Zelima or her husband told the doctor, told the nurses, he was allergic to penicillin. But in spite of being told, the doctor gave Zelima's husband penicillin, and he died. We all make many mistakes. Doctors make many mistakes. Question everything. My friend Chester's doctor gave Chester a very strong antibiotic drug that destroyed much of Chester's intestinal flora, the many good germs necessary for health in Chester's intestine. And for months after that, Chester suffered low energy and fatigue. In 1975, my mother's doctor in Illinois wanted to do surgery to see if she had cancer, but we refused. We took my mother to world-famous Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota, and they did many tests on my mother. They found no sign of cancer. They did not do surgery. The team of doctors at Mayo Clinic came into her room. They were honest. They were humble enough to admit they did not know what was wrong with my mother. They sent her home with the vitamin folic acid. But one good vitamin is not enough. It's like trying to build a house with one wall. Later, I wrote to the Illinois doctor who had wanted to do surgery on my very sick mother. I told that doctor about my mother and the Mayo Clinic. I told him my very sick mother could have died on his operating table for what? For nothing. He mailed back my letter and had scribbled on it that he was right in recommending surgery on my mother. Maybe that doctor feared we would sue him or tell other people about his dangerous advice that could have killed my mother. We all make many mistakes. Doctors make many mistakes. A woman friend suffered several cancers for years. Her cancer doctor told her not, now get this, her cancer doctor told her not to eat nutritious food when she was taking chemotherapy. But cancer patients, especially on chemotherapy, need to eat the most nutritious food possible in order to live. Sadly, she followed the cancer doctor's wrong advice not to eat nutritious food. Sadly, my woman friend died. When I was 28, I had surgery on the retinas of both my eyes, 10 weak spots and or holes on the one, 13 on the other. I was absolutely terrified of going blind. My mother had surgery 2 times for retina detachment at the University Hospital in Madison, Wisconsin. My mother and I both had diabetic retinopathy. I was severely addicted to sugar shit, ice cream, cookies, pie, cake, candy, as a kid and in my 20s. My mother was severely addicted to sugar shit also for many years. As far as I remember, no doctor, no nurse asked my mother or asked me what we were eating. Our serious eye disease was caused largely by our severe addiction to sugar shit, ice cream, cake, cookies, candy, pie, donuts. Doctors make many mistakes. We all make many mistakes. Imagine you went to a town where everybody always wore cloth covering their ears, even in hot weather. You never saw anyone with bare ears in public. It was forbidden by law. You could get fired, you could get thrown in jail, laughed at, cursed, branded as a dangerous pervert, beaten up if you showed your naked ears in public. Insane. Why are these people in this town ashamed and afraid of seeing bare ears in public? Why are they so hung up about that part of the body? Why this weird taboo? And in this society, the same is true of naked penises, testicles, vaginas, asses, female breasts. Why the crazy, sick hang-ups about these precious, pleasurable parts of our bodies? Why is it legal? Why is it legal to show rifles, shotguns? Why is it legal to show revolvers and nuclear missiles in public, but not naked penises, testicles, vaginas, asses, and female breasts? Our genitals are not obscene. Naked bodies making love are not obscene. War, racism, war taxes, revenge, rape, greed, boxing, nuclear bombs, grudges, all of those are obscene. War, racism, war taxes, rape, revenge, greed, boxing, grudges, nuclear bombs, all obscene. But because of the sexually uptight society we live in, I aim to be wise, to be naked and to make love where I do not risk getting arrested or freaking people out. I love living mostly naked in public when I'm warm enough. I enjoy living as naked as the weather and the law allow. And one of my favorite, simple, free, natural pleasures is sunbathing naked in a couple private spots in our backyard. I read, I think, I rest, I converse as I soak up the marvelous healing sunshine. Many times, especially in winter, when it's not blazing hot to lie in the sun. More than 200,000 people in Guatemala were murdered during the war in the 1970s and 1980s. The United States provided weapons, officer training, CIA support to the brutal government of Guatemala. The government of Guatemala destroyed 662 villages. Think of that. And the U.S. supported it with CIA support, officer training, weapons. 662 villages destroyed in Guatemala. And you think the U.S. is a peace-loving country? Hell no. And many years earlier, in 1954, the U.S. CIA overthrew the democratically elected president in Guatemala. Why? Because that democratically elected president in Guatemala opposed U.S. corporations stealing his people's labor, their resources. It was all about the filthy greed of huge U.S. corporations. Were you taught that in school? Likely not. In Nicaragua, the U.S. supported the bloody dictator Somoza. President Franklin Roosevelt said, "Somoza is a son of a bitch, but he is our son of a bitch." More than 50,000 people in in Nicaragua, were killed in the war to remove Somoza. And many years later, war between the Sandinistas and the U.S.-backed Contras killed 30,000 people in Nicaragua. In El Salvador, civil war killed 75,000. And all three of these nations, Guatemala, Nicaragua, El Salvador, in Central America, U.S. leaders, U.S. taxpayers caused a massive river of blood, tens of thousands of human beings murdered. U.S. sided with a few filthy rich at the top who supported U.S. corporations, who were robbing many millions of poor people. The U.S. supported the murder of most of the more than 355,000 killed in those three nations, Guatemala, El Salvador, Nicaragua, in Central America in the 1970s and 80s. The United States has murdered far more people, many millions of people, in Central America, Iraq, Afghanistan, Yugoslavia, Chile, Vietnam, Cambodia, and dozens of nations than Osama bin Laden, Saddam Hussein, and ISIS murdered. Sadly, most people in the United States do not know the evils their federal income tax dollars pay for. And sadly, many people here do not give a damn. Millions in the United States have never called or written Congress or the President to oppose U.S. mass murder abroad. And just last evening, I made 3 calls to Washington, D.C., 3 calls locally to our 2 U.S. senators and our congresswoman, urging them to take a strong public stand against the U.S. mass murder in Gaza. And I asked, how would they feel if their children or grandchildren or nieces or nephews or the kids of friends of theirs were orphaned, had arms and legs amputated, blinded, as the children in Gaza are suffering day after day? Take a stand for human life. In the 1970s, U.S. Secretary of State and war criminal Henry Kissinger told the brutal U.S.-backed dictator Pinochet in Chile that the United States would not demand that Pinochet respected human rights in Chile. And Pinochet tortured, jailed, murdered many thousands in Chile. And do you wonder why millions worldwide fear and hate the U.S. government? Men, if you enjoy having a woman or a man suck your cock, swallow your cum, be sure to taste your cum when you are pleasuring yourself alone. If we're healthy, if we eat only healthy food, if we do not drink booze, if we do not smoke cigarettes, if we do not take prescription drugs or street drugs, if we do not work around dangerous chemicals, our cum should taste good, and our cum is nutritious. Many years ago, I had sex with a college student in Virginia. His cum tasted awful, and maybe he never knew it. If he never tasted his own cum, and if no one he had sex with told him. I did not tell him. Maybe I should have. Women and men swallow the cum only of men who live healthy. Poisons from a smoker's cigarettes are in his cum. And the same is true with women who smoke cigarettes. Their vaginal fluid is contaminated with poisons from the cigarettes. And no matter how good looking the man or woman is, no matter how kind, no matter how dependable she or he is, if they smoke cigarettes, their body fluids contain many poisons. I remember my bisexual friend Herman, who died years ago in his 90s. He greatly enjoyed sucking men off. He said their cum was like a milkshake. I do not drink milkshakes, even though many, many years ago I hogged out on them. But for many years I've drunk no milkshakes because I do not eat sugar or milk, but I surely understand what Herman meant. A worldwide study in 195 nations found there is no safe level of drinking booze. Nada. Zero. None. Booze has messed up, cut short the lives of many dear friends of mine. Meme Villegas, dear, dear friend in Sterling, Illinois, died of booze at 59. Steve Martinez, a dear friend of mine here in Albuquerque, died at 59 from the damn booze. I drink no booze. Booze is slow poison to every cell of our body. Slow poison. It's not going to kill you instantly, but it slowly does the job. Booze can cause heart disease, cancer, car crashes, drowning, stabbings, shootings, beatings. Booze can cause suicide, house fires, freezing to death, brain damage, depression. Booze can cause high blood pressure, strokes, liver damage. Booze can cause stomach ulcers, blood vessel disorders, addiction, men not able to get a hard-on. Booze often causes death. Many people begin as social drinkers and they think, oh, this is no big deal, I can handle this. But many of them, not all, but many eventually become lonely, sick, alcoholics, dying young. Millions on booze say and do things, including sexual assault and murder, they later terribly regret. Now that marijuana is legal in New Mexico, both medical and recreational, I would greatly prefer all my friends who drink any booze switch completely, if they're going to use something, switch completely to only homegrown organic marijuana. Marijuana can help over 40 serious health problems. But never, never, never buy marijuana from Mexico. The drug cartels have tortured and murdered many thousands of people in Mexico. I strongly recommend the book in our city library, Firewater, How Alcohol is Killing My People and Yours. The title again, Firewater, How Alcohol is Killing My People and Yours, by the Cree Indian Harold Johnson, about the awful curse of booze, especially among his native people in Canada. I know of no other book where an Indian person speaks so frankly about the evil of booze, the massive suffering it causes, and what to do about it. My granny was my mother's mother. My mother, dad, brother, and I lived with Granny in the Illinois farmhouse where my mother was born in 1907. And Granny and I slept in the same bed for 7 years, from when I was 5 until 12 years old. And Granny read many books to me. Granny pronounced hundreds of words for me to spell. And I won the county spelling contest when I was in 5th grade. Granny had memorized poems. She spoke these poems with deep feeling. And one poem was about an older couple, a husband and wife, back east, as they look forward to their move out west many, many years ago. And here are some words from that poem that my granny spoke with such deep feeling. Here comes the stage to take us to the train, and our children's children way out west will make us young again. When I was a boy, my mother, my dad, my granny, and I had never visited New Mexico. We had no idea that one day, many years later, New Mexico out west would be my main home after my parents and Granny had died. When I was 12 years old, Granny went to the hospital, diagnosed with cancer of the liver and the bowel. She suffered a colostomy, and that's a hole made in her side for her shit because of the cancer obstruction in her bowel. She lived for another 1.5 years in hospital and nursing home, but sadly, my granny never saw her farm home again. And when I was 13, I stood beside her in the hospital as she died at 89. She was the first person I ever saw die. I'm deeply indebted to Granny. Why are violent movies called action movies? Why are videos of sex, no matter how affectionate, how romantic, labeled dirty? Whether man and woman, man and man, woman and woman. Why are videos of sex, no matter how affectionate, how romantic, labeled dirty by many people? Why do families watch movies full of glamorized war, robbery, horror, murder, revenge, rape, greed, and booze? Why? Why the addiction to violence for entertainment for many families? Why do families watch brutal boxing and mixed martial arts of man against man or woman against woman, bruising, bloodying, brain injuring each other? Why would any adult who treasures human health watch that evil crap? Why are movies of passionate romance and sex between Juliet and Romeo, or Juliet and Judy, or Romeo and Roger not considered family entertainment? Imagine a world where watching affectionate lovemaking, man and woman, man and man, woman and woman, is family entertainment for all ages. Why do many parents prefer their adult son be a boxer, injuring men, or soldier killing men in war, than for him to be in love and make love with men? Why are many people more ashamed of being seen naked than they are of paying federal income tax for war, to murder our sisters and brothers in many nations? The U.S. spends far more for war than any other nation on earth. The U.S. spends more for war as the next highest 9 nations combined. Think of that. The U.S. spends for war as much, more for war than the next 9 highest nations combined. Evil. This nation is addicted to war. Do I believe white supremacists can change? Do I want them to change? What can I say or do to help them change? And apart from the love, the wisdom, the inspiration I've received from many people, I'm no better than white supremacists or anyone on earth. Taking antibiotic drugs can kill not just the bad germs, but also the good germs we need to digest nutrients and fiber in our intestines. Many animals are fed lots of antibiotic drugs. Why? To fatten them up faster, so the farmers make more money. The antibiotics in those animals' meat and milk, and the antibiotic drugs people take directly, can cause fat bodies, allergies, asthma, and diseases of the intestines. I eat no meat, I eat no dairy, and I almost always avoid taking any antibiotics. Sadly, the main way young men can get cheers publicly for touching each other is by bruising, blooding, and injuring each other in football, boxing, mixed martial arts, and not by strong hugs of deep affection, not by giving and receiving sexual pleasure with each other. To be a good, honest, fair cop is not easy. Some reasons I would not want to be a cop: I refuse to carry a gun. I hate guns. I hate wearing uniforms, especially in hot weather. I refuse to enforce laws I oppose. I refuse to shut up about police beatings and killings. And how can anyone be a good cop if he or she does not have the conscience, the courage to condemn publicly the violence he or she sees other cops commit? I reject much of the police court and prison system that emphasizes fear and punishment instead of helping people change their lives for the better. The first Thanksgiving Day was proclaimed in 1637 by the governor of Massachusetts. Why? To commemorate the wiping out of the native Pequot people, the White Massacre of over 700 men, women, and kids. Did most of us learn that in school? Hell no. The first Thanksgiving Day proclaimed in 1637 by the governor of Massachusetts was to commemorate the mass murder of over 700 native men, women, and kids. Not enough sleep causes us to crave junk food. Not enough sleep can cause fat bodies, diabetes. Not enough sleep can cause cancer, dementia. Not enough sleep can cause emotional problems, colds, flu. Not enough sleep can cause heart attacks, strokes, depression. Not enough sleep can cause memory loss, lower immunity, high blood pressure. So never, never, never consider yourself lazy for getting as much sleep as you need to be healthy. An African proverb said, if you want to go quickly, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. And Archbishop Desmond Tutu of South Africa said, nuclear weapons are an obscenity. They're the very opposite of humanity, of goodness in the world. What security do they help establish? He damned nuclear weapons. I wish everybody working at Sandia Weapons Lab and Los Alamos Weapons Lab felt that way. Nelson Mandela of South Africa said, no one is born hating another person because of the color of his skin or his background or his religion. People must learn to hate. And if they can learn to hate, they can be taught to love. For love comes more naturally to the human heart than its opposite. I thank you very much for watching, and I strongly thank Mark and Eddie and Travis for helping me many dozens of times on the cameras and the high-tech controls that I know so little about. And I welcome you to stop me to talk anytime if you see me, if you want to talk with me. And if you want me to call you at home to talk, leave your message here at channel 27. Thank you. My fresh piss. To your health, to my health.
Tell all you love that you love them so, because even if you do, they might not know, and one day we'll all be gone. Taste the wind, don't let it blow on by. Sing songs of love, let the music get you high, and when it's said and done, you'll know the sun will shine on. And when it's said and done, you'll know the sun will shine on.